warm welcome to the Chardikla Time TV with your host Gurdwara. Now let's take a look at the headlines. Canadian PM wife gets AstraZeneca vaccine jab. Quebec Liberals would create team to promote French in Montreal shops. Can the NDP attract young voters in next election? Reallocating vaccines to Ontario hotspots could help reduce case counts and deaths. Canada agrees to deal with Pfizer to secure millions of COVID-19 booster shots through 2024. Now news in detail. Today, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie Grégoire received their first jab of the COVID-19 vaccine. With both getting the AstraZeneca injection, what was symbolic support for it? The Trudeau received their injection at a pharmacy in Ottawa. And just before getting the jab, the Prime Minister said he was very excited. The inoculation came as the National Advisory Council on Immunization, or NICA, also lowered the age threshold for getting the AstraZeneca vaccine from those over 55 to 30 plus category. In a statement, the Council of Chief Medical Officer of Health said all of the Canada's approved COVID-19 vaccines provide a high level of. Through earlier access to vaccination, we have the opportunity to vaccinate more people faster, protect our healthcare system, reduce serve illness and save lives. Saying the French language in Montreal is a weekend state, the Quebec Liberals want to create a roving action team to encourage downtown Montreal shop owners to use more French in their daily activities. In a 27-point language policy document released by Liberal leader Dominique Anglade, the party goes much further than it has in the past on the issue of protecting French and promoting the French language. According to the document, should the Liberals from the next government in 2022, they will equip Quebec with a robust linguistic policy that uses some of the same language and ideas the coalition Avenir Quebec government is already proposing as it prepares its own reforms. The Liberals nevertheless say they want to protect French in partnership with the English-speaking community because it has rights that must be protected. Anglade said at a news conference, "It is our duty for now and forever to keep French fully alive. Our common language is the cement of us living together." Instead, the team would examine how much French is being used in shops and suggest ways to improve service. Anglade said we have to act in the downtown. Quebec language minister Simon Jolin Barrett in reaction said, "We salute all proposals which aim to reinforce the French language in the Quebec." The federal NDP are heading into the next election betting their strategy to target the ultra-rich will resonate with younger voters. But whether millennial and Gen's online post to abolish billionaires will translate into votes and remains to be seen. A part of the game plan to target youth rests on the social media and the leader Jagmeet Singh himself, whose embrace of the TikTok grabbed attention in the last election campaign, and who has been using the video platform and its means since to promote his party ideas. Jagmeet Singh said in an interview the NDP is working on the building a big team around social media. People want to be reached out to and spoken to where they are, and young people are on the social media and they are frustrated with the injustice going on. Jagmeet Singh said he took it as personal initiative to double down on social media as a way to reach voters. The effort extends to other platforms popular with younger Canadians. Jagmeet Singh's line of attack on the Liberal has been the paint to party as being in bed with billionaires, in the contrast to the NDP, which would make the ultra-rich pay their fair share. Ontario COVID-19 advisory table says reallocating vaccines to COVID-19 hotspots will help to reduce case counts, hospitalizations and deaths. The move would see half of all available vaccines reallocated to Ontario's top 74 hotspots, with the other half equally distributed across the province. Everyone aged 16 and older in those hot spots would be vaccinated, according to the science table. Early analysis of the province vaccine rollout reveals inequities in distribution, with residents of higher risk neighborhoods with the largest proportion of essential workers less likely to get vaccinated. Accelerating the vaccinations of essential workers, their families and other residents living in the hotspots is projected to prevent considerably more infections in people aged 16 to 59 years. Although this strategy would see slower vaccination of people aged 60 years and older in non-hotspots, the group says it would prevent more infections in that age group. This plan included the distribution of 25% of vaccines to the 114 hotspots and the remaining 75% to the rest of the province. According to the report, this means that 47.5% of Ontario vaccine supply would be allocated to the 30% of the population living in 114 hotspots. A man in his 80s had died following a serious collision on Bagshots High Street. Police have confirmed officers were called to the scene at around 1:45 p.m. The collision involving a black Volvo V60 happened outside the Cedar Tree Public House. The driver of Volvo was pronounced dead at the scene shortly after the collision, then his next to the kin have been informed. People are appealing for people who stopped at the scene to help the man and performed first aid to come forward. Surrey police said in a statement, "We can confirm that a man sadly died following a collision on Bagshot High Street. Police have informed the man shot next of kin and our thoughts remain with them at that time. It is believed that a number of people who witnessed the collision stopped to help the victim and performed first aid. Then please contact us. You may have valuable information which could help with our investigations." Bagshot High Street was closed for a short time while officer investigated the incident and reopened at 5 p.m. Motorists are still being asked to avoid the areas and find alternative routes. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada has secured COVID-19 boosters vaccines from Pfizer for 2022 and 2023 with the options to extend into 2024. The agreement guarantees access to 65 million doses, with access to up 120 million more if all options are exercised. Prime Minister said while more and more Canadians are getting vaccinated right now, it's also important to plan ahead to the future. We have reached an agreement with Pfizer for 35 million boosters doses for next year and 30 million in the last year. Booster shots are expected to be important as the virus continues to mutate, similar to how the flu shot is altered every year to be effective against the most dominant strain. The announcement came as Canada's top public health doctor said there are signs the epidemic is easing, although average COVID-19 case counts have more than doubled over the past month. Ontario says pregnant women have been moved to the highest risk category on the province COVID-19 vaccine priority list and can book an appointment. Pregnant women were previously in the at-risk of category in phase 2 of the Ontario's vaccine priority list, which would have put them at the end of the phase in May or even later. In response to emerging data on the increased risk of severe illness for pregnant women, all pregnant individuals will be eligible to register for vaccination appointments under the highest risk health conditions in the phase 2 prioritizations guidance starting today. A statement from the Ministry of Health, the provisional online booking portal, was updated to reflect the change. A doctor note is not necessary. A woman can expect to wait about 16 weeks for a second dose. President Joe Biden is pledging to reduce U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by 50% to 52% by 2030. In the latest push by the administration to aggressively combat climate change, the target announced more than doubles the country's prior commitment under the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, when the Obama administration set out to cut emissions 26% to 28% below 2005 levels by 2025. The U.S. is currently not yet halfway to meeting that goal. Biden's pledge on Earth Day is in the line with what environmental groups and hundreds of executives at major companies have pushed for. The president announced the target at the closely watched Global Leaders Climate Summit, during which he hopes to urge global cooperation to address the climate crisis. The president said this is a moral imperative, an economic imperative, a moment of peril, but also a moment of extraordinary possibilities. A terrorism investigation has been launched after a French police employee was killed in a knife attack at a police station in Rambouillet, southwest of Paris. The anti-terrorism branch stepped into the lead the investigation to determine the circumstances of the knife attack by a man unknown to intelligence services. The attack took place in the secure entrance area of the police station in Rambouillet. The Rambouillet, 35 miles from the capital at around 2.2 6:20 p.m. The 49-year-old woman, an administrative assistant who was returning from a lunch break, was stabbed in the throat twice and died of her wounds shortly afterwards. The attacker was fatally wounded when an officer opened fire on him. The murdered woman was the mother of 2 children. At an international climate summit convened by US President Joe Biden, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pledged today that Canada would aggressively curb greenhouse gas emissions over the next decade. Trudeau said Canada will reduce emissions by 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030, which would cut total emissions much more than the target first pitched by the former Conservative government. Canada has long maintained it would slash emissions by 30% by 2030. In real terms, that would mean lowering GHG emissions from 732 megatons to 513 megatons. Speaking at the summit, Trudeau said Canada is now on track to blow past our old target. With today's more ambitious commitment, Canada is forecasting emissions will drop to at least 439 megatons by the end of this decade. Trudeau said our priority continues to be battling COVID-19. We rely on science to save lives and develop vaccines, but we must also listen to climate science, which tells us we are facing an existential threat. So that's all we have in this edition. Thanks for watching Chardikla Time TV. Stay tuned.